Welcome, movie fans, to another podcast episode of Bent Cinema with Nathan Box. Our special movie correspondent on Left of Straight Podcasts shares his thoughts and movie reviews, actor profiles, and best of or worst of lists for all things cinema. Nathan knows his stuff, so grab some popcorn and get ready to go to the movies, right here on Bent Cinema.
Well, happy September, everyone. It's time for another episode of Bent, our Bent Cinema with our very special movie correspondent, Nathan Box. Been a while, my friend. We were traveling and everything, and I'm so glad to have you back. How are you doing? How's the summer going?
Summer's been great. It's been really busy in our world. When I'm not watching movies, I work for an affordable housing organization, and we have just been absolutely slammed this summer, which is a great problem to have. You know, we want to build this stuff as fast as possible and get people housed. But we've been busy.
There you go. And that stuff is so needed. So I definitely appreciate all that hard work there. Well, I'm excited to go into a couple of movies here. I haven't talked. I think while I was in Palm Springs, I saw one movie the entire time, and I was kind of disappointed. It was Deadpool, and I wasn't overly excited as I was hoping to be. So, what is the first movie you'd like to dig into today?
Well, the first movie is a 2023 movie starring Elliot Page. It is his first movie back after transitioning, and it is a really unique movie, and it is a really brave film in so many ways. So I'd love to jump into that one and discuss it.
Let's do it. The film is called Close to You. Let's show the audience a quick sneak peek, and then we'll talk about it on the other side, okay? All right, here is Elliot Page in Close to You. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds. All right, there we go. What's his name? Savage, okay. All righty, guys, we are back. That was Close to You, written by Elliot Page and Dominic Savage, who also directed the film. Nathan's first pick for September. Nathan, tell me what drew you to this movie.
Well, I read Elliot's memoir earlier this year, Page Boy, and I was absolutely floored by it. Elliot, of course, has been a very public figure for a very long time. I've always enjoyed his previous work. Juno is one of my favorite films of all time. Right. But to know that this struggle was going on underneath while living a very public life was sort of astounding to me. It reminds me that we all wear multiple hats, and we all have a private battle that others may not realize is happening. So, I remember when Elliot announced that she was a lesbian and came out at the HRC gala, and I remember that moment. I remember feeling very proud of Ellen when she did that, and then I remember sort of the announcement that he was going to begin transitioning, and I had natural thoughts about what was that going to do to your career. Are you going to be able to be a trans man in Hollywood? How will the world respond to this? So I think I sort of dove in the book because I wanted to know more about the story. And this movie, Close to You, sort of feels like, small bits of the autobiography come to life. It is a trans man who, after several years away from the family, returns home for a birthday dinner and also reunites with a former love who knew him when she was in high school. So it's a fascinating story. It is so brave in so many ways. we do not get a lot of trans stories, and this one
Right.
is unapologetic in so many ways. I will say that my challenge with the film is the vast majority of the script is improvised. So,
Right.
in scenes where they are having an argument or there is a debate of some sort, if you've ever studied improv or you've ever done improv yourself, you know that you never leave another actor hanging. It is always yes and. And these scenes in this movie, particularly the dramatic scenes, do have a sort of yes and feeling, as if they are
Mm.
searching for drama, as if they are searching for conflict. They know point A and they know point B. What's undecided is how they're going to get there. And how they get from point A to B isn't always really clean, and it can feel a little forced. So that's one of the things that sort of irked me about the film. But
I think
beyond
that's a
that,
director's calling card. It's what Dominic is kind of known for in his other films. He's very big in improvised work. So yeah, I think, and it's always a challenge, I think, for actors to kind of to walk that line. So well caught. I like that.
yeah, and I don't know if that will always translate to film really well. I mean, I think of a show like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is also
Right.
improvised, and it just sort of works really well in comedy. We know, I mean, that's where this sort of art form really shines. Larry David is sort of a master at it, and he hires actors around him that are also very comfortable doing it. I don't know
Right.
necessarily that the practice of improving, sorry, translates very well to drama. So you'll just have to sort of check your appetite for that sort of narrative storytelling and see if it distracts you. It definitely distracted me. But I say all that, I still think this is a really important story. I think it is a very brave story to tell, and I applaud Elliot for telling it.
I love hearing that. I have not seen the film yet. I did see the trailer for it a while back, and I knew it. I knew about the film. Like you said, the journey is amazing to be able to come off an Oscar-winning film, um, and do this transition so publicly and everything. I think he really has to be applauded for just doing it so publicly and so just matter of factly and living his own truth. So I think that is amazing. I did, you know me, I'm more of the television buff than the movies. And so I did see The Umbrella Academy. It had its final season, like a 6 episode half season. It was amazing how much the story arced a little bit on there, because the same thing is reconciling with his dad, which they all do in The Umbrella Academy. They're all trying to reconcile with this guy that's kind of engineered this family, so to speak. So it was a lot of parallels with Elliot's journey in that television show, kind of reconciling with his father as well. So it was amazing to see those two parts of it, both in the drama of that and then in the television show. So it's kind of a great double whammy. I was impressed.
It also makes me curious about, so what does this next stage of Elliot's career look like?
Hmm.
I will Hollywood allow him to be a leading man, or will it have to be a lot of these sort of independent films, which is fine. People make a very great career of that. I think if you're an artist, those are the stories you want to tell.
Right.
But I'm interested in what this next phase will be. It can't always be a transition story or a story of a trans man coming home
Right.
or sort of those challenges. Will he be allowed to tell stories that don't really have anything to do with the fact that he's transitioned?
Yeah, I have a very good friend that I've known since I started the show back in 2015, Scott Turner Schofield, and he was one of the first trans characters on daytime TV. He was in a soap and played a trans character there, but he has gone through and trying to elevate his acting ever since. And there's been a lot of hurdles to it. I mean, he's had some great successes in some, like you said, very much art house movies, very much independent movies. But as far as mainstream, it's very hard for him to get cast, even looked at in casting for it. So I agree, even with the talent that Elliot represents, I think it's still going to be a struggle. It's kind of sad in a way, but business is business, I guess, for these Hollywood types.
And, making a movie is secondary in this case. Like, Elliot needs to be happy in his body and needs to be happy with himself. And I think how Hollywood responds is sort of secondary. I think it is a shame if the response is thanks, but no thanks. I think we're missing out on a generational talent that can really tell some fantastic stories. So my only hope, so we're after walking out of this film, is that more work comes and more stories get to be told by this amazing artist.
And I think that kind of it pays it forward. I know that Scott is now doing producing and directing, and I'm hoping to see the same from Elliot. It's such a keen mind for the craft and everything. I would love, and has a little more clout than a lot. So maybe be able to produce these kind of things where we can see more very natural, like trans stories and things like that. Because this is probably one of the most well done ones around. I mean, there's some back in the day, but I think within the last 10 to 20 years, there hasn't been any, I can't think of any strong trans leading films that I can talk about.
Yeah, I mean, none that star a person that's actually transitioned. We've gotten a lot of Eddie Redmayne and playing a trans woman, but who regrets playing that role. So we don't have any of someone that has transitioned telling a trans story. So I'm hoping that this sort of allows those other stories to be told, because I think they're important and they're necessary. And I think they're particularly important and necessary for people who don't know a lot about this world or misunderstand it. I think exposure is the best way to get over some of those things. And my hope is this story opens some eyes, some ears, and some hearts.
Did you have a particular scene that stood out to you? I mean, one of the things that kind of struck me when I was watching the trailer, there was a scene where I think it was probably his mother saying, "I just don't want your life to be so hard." And Elliot's character responds, "Well, where were you when it was hard back in the day?" And I think that it was so powerful just in the trailer. Any scene in particular kind of stand out to you that still sticks in your mind?
Yeah, so there is a scene around the dinner table with the entire family, and Elliot is warring sort of with a brother-in-law, and the brother-in-law is really searching for conflict. He doesn't understand the transition and is really sort of playing it down, really being a jerk about it. That scene is very powerful. And then all of the scenes where Elliot reconnects with his high school flame or friend are very important. They're very sweet. They're some of the best in the movie. But those two scenarios are ones that I would pay attention to when watching the film.
And it seems like the actress, they were kind of toe to toe there. She was equally impressive in her acting as well, right?
Oh, she is wonderful. It's someone I had not seen before. She's a partially deaf woman, but she is phenomenal. Sort of got that thing where acting with just facial expressions alone have the ability to sort of crush your soul. So yeah, phenomenal work by the vast majority of the cast. Does a really good job. So I do think this is the film worth checking out, despite my hangups on some of the more improvised scenes.
Gotcha. And all the listeners are always waiting for your star rating system. What kind of stars we giving this, my friend?
Yeah, so I give this 3 out of 5. I think it's a perfectly average film. I think if the dialogue may have been written and rehearsed, it would have felt a little less forced and more natural. But I do tip my hat at the director, the writer, the actors for wanting to try something new and something sort of unorthodox for Hollywood filmmaking. I just wish the script was a little more set in stone.
There you go. 3 stars is solid. And yeah, you always wonder when they film these things. I've never really known anyone that's done this type of film, but I would love to ask how many takes do they do? Because since it is improvised, it's like, is it right the first time? Is it right the 32nd time? I mean, I've always wondered that in the back of my head, to be honest, as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I mean, you take a scene like this where, everything is sort of improvised, and then on the complete other side of the spectrum, you get a film like the Coen brothers, who want the actors to say every word that is written in the script. They have meticulously chosen those words. They've meticulously chosen the blocking. So it's this weird, spectrum of the way to approach a film. And so, it would be really interesting to compare the number of takes for an improvised film like this and a Coen brothers film, and let's see, who it takes longer to make a movie.
That's such a great analogy. I absolutely love that. Well, guys, the film is Close to You and starring Elliot Page, and first film back since Elliot transitioned, and a 3-star by Nathan Box, our special movie correspondent. Very good, Nathan. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
All right, we'll be back later in the month because we're always lucky to have Nathan here twice a month here on Left of Straight Podcast doing Bent Cinema for us. Remind everyone where they can find your fantastic website and find you online, my friend.
Yep, the website is natetheworld.com, and all social media handles are at natetheworld.
Terrific. We appreciate you tuning in, guys. We'll be back next time, and have a great rest of your September. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on another Bent Cinema podcast. Thanks as always to Nathan Box, who joins us twice a month here on Left of Straight Podcasts. Be sure to give us a thumbs up or 5-star review wherever your podcasts are distributed. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.